Hello and welcome back to Amanda Makes a Mess. I'm Amanda, and today I will not be making a mess because this week's video is a little different. I recently got an iPad, uh, mostly with the intention of using it to uh, learn Procreate and try to get into doing some digital artwork as well as my usual traditional stuff. So that's what I've been doing this week. The first thing I did was a tutorial that I followed from a YouTube video, but that won't be on here uh, because I didn't feel right basically putting someone else's artwork in my videos. I don't like the idea of doing that. So this is the Stona is the first uh, piece I made in Procreate after I did the tutorial so that I had some idea of what I was doing, because I was completely lost before I did a tutorial. I chose to do this donut because it was something simple. It's like a relatively simple shape with some organic like blobbiness for the icing. It's nothing that was really too difficult. And it let me experiment with some of the brushes and uh, with the layers and just seeing what I liked and what I didn't like, and uh, trying to find, like, I guess my art style digitally and seeing how that differed from what I do traditionally. Honestly, there's not a lot of difference. Uh, I think the big difference is going to be in my method, because I don't think my sketching, then inking, then drawing, or then coloring is going to work with Procreate, although I think I can still do a sketch layer, like a very rough sketch, then ink over that uh, in another layer to do the lines that I actually want, but then the coloring part is going to be different because I'm going to have to do multiple layers instead of just one. But after I did the donut, I decided I wanted to see if I could make one of my drawings that I did traditionally in my sketchbook, and I think this is from sketchbook 8, so it's from about a year ago. I wanted to see if I could do one of my drawings from sketchbook 8, I think, uh, as a digital piece. And it did turn out a lot better than I thought it would. I did the wall first because it was going to be the back layer. But I wasn't happy with it, and I do go back and fix it later on. Uh, then I started on her face, which it was a little difficult. It worked. I do think I used the Gaussian blur tool way too much. Like, seriously, way too much. I used it on everything. So I need to find another way of like adding shading that doesn't involve that. I think I could probably have accomplished the same thing if I had just made um the shading a separate layer and then altered the transparency. But at this point, I didn't actually know how to adjust the transparency of a layer. I only learned that in, I think, like maybe the drawing after this one, because I have experimented with it more after I did this. Her hair was probably the hardest part because I couldn't quite figure out what I wanted to do. I tried the separate strands the way I usually do when I'm just drawing in my sketchbook, which, I mean, it looked okay, but I didn't like it. So then I ended up doing uh, just big blobs of color. And then after I had the big blobs of color, I went back in and tried to do details like the lines, darker lines, and some brighter lines in the big blob to separate the strands of hair. And then after that, I used that Gaussian blur. I think I'm saying that right. I hope I'm saying it right. The Gaussian. I don't know. I used that blur tool to sort of, I guess, blur it together to kind of I think make it look more natural, but I don't know. I don't think it really worked out the way I wanted it to, but at that point, it was the best I could do with what I had to work with because I've still not figured out all of the tools in Procreate. I'm still playing with it. I'm still getting better. Uh, I actually did a piece last night that's up on my Instagram now that I think came out better than both pieces that are in this video. But I did the hair thing for both sides, and I went back and cleaned it up and like outlined it a little bit so that it doesn't have like the weird bumps and edges and the lines. Uh, the water I think worked out really well because this is where I figured out how to make it transparent. And I think I just Googled how to make a layer transparent in Procreate. Uh, so I was actually able to make the water transparent so that you can see her through the water and she looks like she's actually in it as opposed to how it looked in my sketchbook when I tried to draw the water and make it transparent. That was the part I didn't like in the original traditional drawing. Uh, her face, I'm not completely happy with, but I don't hate it either. It's, I wish I had separated the eyelashes more for one thing, because the eyelashes still look like big chunks. It looks like they're sort of clumped together, and I don't like that, but at this point, I still don't know how to fix it. But one thing I was happy with, I could just draw one eye, then copy and paste that layer, uh, and make it the other eye. I didn't have to draw both eyes, which is something I'm really bad at. Like, I can usually get one eye right, but then I can't get the other one to look like anything close to it. So that was a big help. Uh, so it was I also did the same thing with her eyebrows, with the just drawing one and then copying and pasting it and like reflecting it over, then using it on the other side for the other eyebrow. I think that saved me a lot of time and a lot of trouble, even though I do actually end up using that whole Gaussian blur thing on her eyebrows too. Because I feel like I'm really overusing that tool. But it is helpful. It just, I need to figure out some other ones that I can use instead of that. Or some other ways to get like the same effect because I do want to use as many of the tools as I can. But I am still learning how everything works. I feel like there's tools that I haven't even discovered yet. Her mouth, though, I am really happy with the way her mouth came out. Uh, I think I drew the whole thing. I don't think I drew one side then reflected it over. I think I did draw her whole mouth. But I'm really happy with the way it actually looks rounded and the whole like the highlights. The tears, I was also pretty happy with those. I used the same effect on the water. I drew them and then I made them transparent. And I think that really helped with the realistic look of them as opposed to the way I did it traditionally in my sketchbook the first time. Uh, and here's where I go back and redo the wall. I added some highlights and some shadows to it, uh, just to make it look, I guess, to make it look more like tile, like she's sitting in a bathtub, and then that was about it. So this video is short, but thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. So